welcome back everybody in the Power Awakening podcast. In the previous episode, we were talking about Kjetil's experience with Power Awakening in his life and about himself basically, who you are, what you do in life, what is the work of a shaman, what is shamanism. We touched a little bit of this topic too, and we got to the point to touch how it was for you being a young adult. And the last topic was the self-parenting and not expecting from the parents and those who hurt us to fix the things inside us. We have to take responsibility of our wounds. So that was the last topic, and those who listen the first part of the podcast now can hear how it continues. We agreed that this is our job to get it done, and if we don't get it done, we stay basically a wounded child inside.
Yes.
And it was interesting. I brought out this topic in the other podcast I was participating in. When I was deep in psychology to fix my topics, I was looking at the podcast of one of my favorite psychologists, and he had people in their 50s, 60s, like stars, who basically just came to the podcast and just talked with him. And there I recognized like many of them didn't even work on themselves, anything, and their partners led them to stay in that level because they were not brave enough to tell them like you should think about this, what you did or say or whatever. So basically they were in the same level, like 20 years old or something, and I was like, wow. So if I don't do the job, I will just basically stay on the same emotional level. Wow. So I was very surprised in that time. So getting done the inner work, we can continue from here. In this part of the podcast, I would continue from your story as a young adult until now. So those who's recognized that self-parenting is needed, how can they go forward afterwards? How did you do that?
Well, it's a little bit hard to use me as an example because I had this sudden awakening.
Okay.
So, okay, I did get my shit together in the physical world when I was not fully, but almost. So I could actually, because I was becoming a father, and I was getting a job, and I got some of the things together. But I did continue with that unconscious lifestyle, you know. But at 25, I had I was separated from the mother of my oldest child, and I met another woman, but we just met. Didn't know each other very well, but I was in love with her, and I found her dead home in the bed, and that shaken me. And then I started to have contact with her after she was dead, in a way. I felt her presence, and I felt that I could talk with her inside myself. And I was thinking maybe I'm going crazy, but it felt really authentic that I felt that contact. So I started to pay interest in meditation and, energy and afterlife and things like that. But still I was kind of living an unhealthy, unconscious life, like a double life. I had my success in my business life. At the same time, I was still using drugs in the weekends. And at one point, I was so unhappy with my life that I just went down on my knees after a Christmas full of partying, and I just prayed, if there is some God, please help me. I don't want this life anymore. I didn't want to take my life, but I didn't want to have that life I had, because I was unhappy to the core. I was so lost in a way. Guy from the north living in the big city in Oslo and far away from nature. And then there was a shaman from the north who came and he met me. He had got message to come there. And we met by he came home to my apartment that I shared with a guy. And we recognized each other and we started working together. It was kind of I don't know how that happened. It was magic in a way. I got help. My prayer was answered. And then after we had been working together for a while, I had this sudden awakening. Everything happened at once. From being very closed and to everything opened up. And the whole universe was flowing through me. And I was sweating and I was screaming and I was yelling, and that was a process continued for a few hours. And after, I was fully clear. I did recognize my own self, who I was, who I really was, and why I'm here on this planet, and what's my mission, what's the meaning of my life. And from that, it was very easy for me. I just had to do the work. But of course, it took me 10 years to integrate everything that happened to me in that incident. But and I traveled all over the world to find tools for integration and for helping other people to heal or to find their authentic self and awaken. But that doesn't happen with most people. Most people, it's a step-by-step awakening. So I think it's important to, first of all, you stop what you're doing and search for help. Because it's not so easy to hold yourself through all these processes in the beginning until you learn the tools. You need someone to hold you. You need someone to help you. I've been holding almost thousands of people in one-to-one or in groups while they go through the processes. They need someone to hold that space for them. It's very few people who can do it all by themselves. In the end, you're by yourself. But to get help by a teacher or a healer or by good friends and the community is so important. And in today's society, we tend to withdraw with our troubles and our problems and our processes. There is no room in the society for it. We don't have that. Most people don't have that community that we had before. We're so split up in all. The families are so splitted in most cases in today's society, and we don't need each other in the same way we did before. Before we needed each other much more. Now the government take care of us. You can, especially here in Scandinavia. It's maybe not so everywhere, but so I think is to search help, ask for help. I think that's the most important thing. And it's also we're not supposed to do everything by ourselves. Even we have to take responsibility, so the other person is not going to do the job for you. Like before, the shaman or the healer was doing the job for the person. You came with a problem to me, and I traveled to the spirit world, or I did something to heal you and help you. That's not how it is anymore. The energy is different, the consciousness is different. What I can do now, I can give you the tools and I can hold your space, but you have to walk the path. But you need someone to guide you. You need someone to hold you, I think. And,
You mentioned this step-by-step awakening or an awakening.
Sudden awakening.
Yeah. And how is this, what do you think, those who's doing the step-by-step method? What is in the everyday world?
First of all, you can't decide to have a sudden awakening. That's just happening to some people, either by trauma or by. It can be many things that triggers it. In my case, it was intensive breath work in a group, together with a master in energy healing. But step by step is, first of all, you have to stop what you're doing, and then you have to search for tools and help, and then you have to start to pay attention inwards. You have to start meditating, or you have to find silence. You have to find this silent gap in your life. Go out in nature and sit by a tree or by the fire, or just many people just learn meditation techniques also. It's so many paths. Someone finds it when playing instrument, but you have to find that what makes you come back to yourself, that makes you come in contact with yourself. You need to have that contact, because if you go that way of self-growth and spirituality with the same mindset, disconnected mindset that you have been running your whole life with, it's dangerous. It's so dangerous. So you need to connect first.
And how crazy that many people think that we are even more connected because of the internet, because we have all kinds of platforms to send messages and talk and do a lot of other things that is basically just being distracted. And what you said, being connected to ourselves, is just not a thing in most of the people, just how to connect, how to do this, because they keep busy with work, family, if they have, or just with phones and computer. So doing this inner work and talking about reaching the level of consciousness that is needed to heal is just Chinese for many people. Like, what is consciousness means for me, for example, when I started my Buddhist journey, my actual partner in that time, she said being in the present is the biggest gift. And as a person in the 20s, I was just like, what are you talking about? Being in the present, I'm here, But then I also had a spiritual awakening when I experienced what Lama Ola Nidal in a teaching did with us. It was just unbelievable. I was reading these things in books, that consciously you can have a visual, I would not say hallucination, a visual surprise that your mind didn't experience before. And afterwards, when I did my meditations at home and went down with the dog just to walk, I've seen everything different, like in a dream. Like everything was so intense, all the colors, all the flowers, all the people. And I was like, wow, I experienced this in another way earlier. And now it's like, I do this with meditation. Wow. So for me, that's why Lama Ola Nidal was a big inspiration of doing real work in a spiritual path, not just doing all the psychological work, because it just showed me like how powerful our mind is. And when we are connected to the source, then wow, things get...
And what is the source? What is the door to the source? That's the question I ask many people, because we can do a lot of psychological work, like say mind work. We can do a lot of psychedelics in the spiritual area to awaken the mind in a way. But at the same time, that's just on the psychological level. And the psychological level and the spiritual level is two different things. And the connection between it is the water, it's the emotions. So when I say get in contact, it needs to start getting contact between body and mind. And getting in contact with the water of the body. We are more than 70% water in the body, you know, and most of the time we don't think about that. We think we are the mind, you know, we are the brain, many of us. But to get in touch with the water, that means to really stop and start listening to the feelings and emotions and the intuition that is in the water. When I grew up, I was lucky to have some people around me who could inspire me to do that. Because in the Saami tradition, we sit, when we have trouble, we go up to the mountain. Or we have offering sites, we have power places in nature. It can be a rock, a stone, or a mountain, or a river. We go there and we sit. And we find the connection. We use nature to connect. I think that's the best tool. Or we can, if we have worries, we can go and we can light a fire and we can sit and we can just talk with the fire or just watch into the fire, and then we start to see the solutions of the problems. So I think there's, if we talk about tools to use the natural elements, I think it's the best tools that exists. Because many times we go into this mental, this trap of we want to solve all the problems in the mental sphere, you know. Is we call it the mental trap, you can call it, yeah. But it's really about getting down into the feelings, into the emotions, listening to the intuitions, and out of that, not reacting on that, but out of that you start to get the more profound, more authentic connection. And I think you can feel it because the feeling is different, the vibration is different. You know, the mental vibration is many times like this, but when you come deeper, you can feel it. It's an other rhythm, it's an other connection. So that's why I work a lot with hands-on with the body with people. I don't just talk with them or meditate with them. I work hands-on with them. And I use drums, or I can use water, or I can use different elements, because these elements is also alive inside your body. So if you can think like that, to get in contact with the water or the fire or the earth inside of you, then you become more authentic, more true. And if you start to listen from that level, then magic starts to happen for most people.
And it sounds like that the rhythm and the speed what you also show is the opposite what we experience during the day.
Yeah.
When we have just the conscious mind, ding, 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 do the task, do the daily things, get everything done. And that's why I think, as you just said, it's important to get out of this a little bit with meditation, with walking in the nature, anything that just calms this down, all the way down, and connect. Because if we don't do, we just leave this.
It's hilarious. For many years, I've been co-working together in yoga studios. I rented yoga studios to have workshops and educations and stuff like that. And I see people come running into the yoga class and doing the yoga for 1 hour, and they run out again. And I was thinking, and they truly believe that they are doing spiritual work. But it's just the same. It's like they just do the same. Maybe they can, that hour on the yoga mat, maybe they can calm down a little bit, but then it's right back. That's not enough. You really need to start looking at the pace you're living your life. If it's sustainable for you. Because when you are in stress, you have no chance. You have to get out of the stress first. If you're going to work with yourself. And I think everyone, one thing I want to mention is that I think everyone I think everyone kind of have this voice or this feeling in the back of the head or in the back of the heart, depends, that am I true to myself now? If you can just stop listening. Is what I'm saying now, is that true? What I'm doing now, is that true? Is that something that is nourishing me? I think everyone has that voice of the soul, you can call it, in the back of the head, or there is there, you know. We all have a soul. So if we can just try to listen to that voice instead of this mind, this egoistic mind that's chatter, la 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 la, you know.
Yeah, this summer, what was it this summer? Last summer, because now in January, I was at a yoga retreat, and I got a very good tool for meditation. It was about just holding the finger here with both hands, and then when we have any thoughts, just squeeze it a little bit, just to be aware that I have the blah blah blah, and I squeeze it, I stop it, I squeeze it, stop it, until it's start to disappear. And then the inner voice, the intuition, will have space to come in, basically. Because how I used to tell people how to make a difference, what is the ego, what is the intuition, is basically when we have to think through something that's, thinking, it can be ego, talking, whatever, and when something is just appears in the mind without getting there by thinking about it. That's how we can basically filter a little bit.
But you can feel it in your heart and in your belly if this is true.
How was it for you in this young age when you became a father, and then you had a broke up? Did you had these feelings in that time already, or it was before the awakening?
What do you mean? The feel?
When you were able to connect to these feelings?
Intuitively, yes, but not consciously.
Not consciously.
Not like I knew kind of what was right, but I didn't follow that voice. But when it came to the breakup, I was not. I don't think I was truly in love. So it was, but I had many different relationships in my life, and some of them was really good, and some of them was really a struggle. And I don't want to blame anyone anymore, because every one of them learned me some lessons, and I could, even if I didn't see that in the beginning, I could see now that it gave me growth. And it also showed me what I wanted and what I don't want. I had no idea when I was a young adult what I wanted or what was right for me. I had no idea. In the back of my head, yes, there was a voice, but I didn't listen to it most of the time. So I had to go out and do all these mistakes and try and fail, and then you get older, then you start to understand what's right. Even after I had my awakening, I continued to do a lot of mistakes, a lot. And that's why I'm sitting here today. That's why I'm a teacher and a mentor, because I can guide people, because I've done all these things. I had all these experiences. So it's easy for me to guide people, and maybe don't have to crash as many times as I did before they learn.
Exactly, it's a good idea.
So when I think back now, this voice was always there in the back of my head. I will say in my heart. It was always there in my heart. And when you're not conscious enough, you're not aware enough, or you're not enough present, you don't listen to that voice. And that's creating the stress. It's creating the disconnection, you know. It's like a rubber band. When you live not sustainable, you're stretching the rubber band more and more and more, and in the end it will probably smack you
Yeah.
right back in your face. So I'm trying to see that way, that the world is just mirroring me. Of course, you need boundaries, and you have to see that when other people are in unbalance, that doesn't mean they are mirroring you always. But I'm trying to see what can I learn from other people. When I get in trouble or something happens, I can see, okay, I can go inside and I can see, is there something I can do about it? Or is it my responsibility to do the work, or is it the other who needs to do that? So stop and reflect on what's happening in your life, because most people don't stop and reflect. They just live that life, and they go from this to this to this. I've been there. I've done it myself. There's nothing wrong about it. It's just a immature level of consciousness, and that doesn't mean you're a bad person or you're an idiot or something. That just means that you're not there yet. Yeah.
And we get back to basically how to get conscious, how to awake, because many people expecting that, okay, I will have a psychedelic experience, then I'm awake, then I can live a new life, or I was at a retreat and now I'm new, I'm done, I'm ready to just go and be conscious and live a new life. I used to tell that for inner work, it's need to be a space to do, and the best when we have a guidance, a group, a community to do this consciously, and at least twice a week, and not just a quick yoga for 1 hour. So for example, my workshops like 3 to 6 hours, but you don't feel it. It's just like, because it's a flow in all the topics we touch in that time. And I believe it's like at least 2 times, and we're just scratching the surface in these little times. What do you suggest for those who's seeking for change? What's the best if they have a busy life? How can they do that? How can they make the change? Because if they stop for a little while, what can be this event, for example, to stop and reflect and connect?
You mean the tools?
Yeah, you mentioned that, for example, you organize a lot of events. What can fit for those who just want to stop and look at life, their life, and what to change? What can you suggest? What kind of event could fit for them?
It's like I said earlier, it's like we are all different, and for some yoga is working well, for others it's tai chi, for some it's meditation, for some it's just sitting looking at the fire, or for some it's ice bathing or sauna. That's very popular today. But it doesn't matter what you do. The thing is, are you conscious? Are you aware when you do it? Did you stop? Did you listen? So the tools, it's hundreds of different tools, but you need to question yourself, am I doing this consciously? And what's happening inside me when I do it? I think that's the common thing for everyone. You need to come to that level to just stop and breathe and connect and ask, what's happening to me when I do this meditation? You have to start to reflect upon it. Or if I do this ice bath or this sauna, what's happening inside of me? If you go to yoga, is it just because you want to stretch more, or is it, how does these different yoga positions help me to connect with myself? So it's always coming back to that level of consciousness, So it's again how fast are your mind spinning, or can you stop that and can you become conscious behind? Can you go behind the thought? And for some, it's really difficult. Some needs maybe to do it 10 or 20 years, but most people will feel a big change if they just can stop what they're doing and become more aware what's happening. So after my awakening, my teacher, he told me, you have to do everything different, everything you do in life. You have to do it different, because if you continue to do the same thing, you will just go back.
Mhm.
So I started, when I put on my shoes, I did it different. I always brushed my teeth with my right hand before. Now I started to do it with my left hand, you know. I started to open the door, not like this, but like this. Just small things. I started to be conscious, how do I do everything in my life? How do I eat? How do I talk? How do I move? How do I walk? I started to kind of have this competition with myself, and how, what's happening if I do it like this or like this, and I start to notice what's happening with me when I started to do things differently than I was used to.
Mhm.
Mm.
So it's
So
also
that's maybe the advice, though. You have to start doing things differently, and you have to be aware what's happening inside you when you do it differently, because everything you do creates synapses in your brain in a way that makes patterns that you live in. And when you start doing things different, and when you search for different environments, then your mind starts to work different also, because it's mirroring it.
and what you said, I felt like basically it's focusing on the present. How is it to walk now? How is it for my feet in this shoe? And to being in the present, it helps to just come down here into my body as well, because I'm focusing on it, but also what I'm doing at the moment. So that's how we can gain consciousness,
Yes.
gain access to the present, basically, not to be here and in the future and the past.
Yeah. Yeah, but and when we talk now, there's one important thing that comes up in me, and that is, we have to question the existence in a way, because what we have lost this. Okay, before many people was religious, we went to church or synagogues, or you know, but today most people are not anymore. So, but they don't believe in anything. They haven't. They don't believe in any spiritual dimension, or they don't see anything as sacred anymore. So, I think it's important to find something sacred in life that can anchor your soul, that can anchor you to something bigger than yourself. Because everything also in the self-growth and spiritual milieus and, you know, self-development, it tends to be very egoistic. It's me and me and me, and I'm gonna awaken and I'm gonna. But instead, there's this humbleness um, in this teacher you mentioned, for example, in that tradition. You know, they have humbleness as one of the biggest. To come to that humbleness, and to start asking, what's sacred in life? Do I have anything sacred in life except that is not about me? It's about something bigger than me. You know, if you call it God, or if you call it Mother Earth, or Spirit in the sky, or Allah, what, it doesn't really matter. But I think we need to somehow we need to connect with that dimension in today's society again, because now we're ruining everything. We don't look at nature as something sacred anymore. It's something we go and we just use it. You know, we use the resources. And that there, I think we can learn a lot from indigenous communities there, and and uh, and because we look at the mountains, it's sacred mountains, you know. The river is sacred, you know. So can we try to come back to that sacred connection? Try to search for it, and be open for it, and don't be like we're locked, like everything is just like this. And if we are not open to okay, say you don't have to believe in any God. You can just, is there any God? Like I did before I had my awakening. I wasn't saying, oh dear God. I said, if there is a God, please help me. I was praying in a way, but I wasn't praying to a fixed thing. I was just open. What's there? So this curiosity, you know, first there's something there is something, a greater intelligence that is controlling all this, or in a way that we might not understand. I think that's very important, that we take back that part somehow. But you know, I believe that the church and the Christianity and many of the religion, they have broken it because it's become mind washing machines in a way. You know, is business. The church is a business. It became a business. You know.
I was studying a lot of religions to see what they teach, basically, and I noticed the similarities, which indicated that all of them had connections to the source, but everybody interpreted differently.
Yeah.
And then if people are not conscious about this, they can just go into that direction, no other direction, I just know this one, fine. But when we are open in this way as well, we can understand the whole world better. So yeah, I would actually dedicate a whole podcast for this topic, to talk about all the religions, what is common in each of them, and what is the real teaching in each section that is like universal. But unfortunately, we are again at the end of the podcast. And it was really nice just to be in this flow with you. Even I had a lot of notes. We didn't really need it because only 5 minutes left. So what I can say is we hopefully continue, because I feel like we have a lot of topics to talk about, and it's important to bring up some piece of spirituality, some piece of teaching from the human worlds, and more tools to touch upon, like how to get up from when we are in the lowest part of life. And basically you mentioned a little bit that if everything falling apart, how can you get back, how to connect again, how to get into balance.
Yeah, I was just about falling apart. When everything is falling apart, and it has been doing that many times for me, you might ask the question, is it actually falling on place? Maybe it's not falling apart, or maybe it needs to fall apart so that something that is more sustainable for you can fall into place.
Yeah, it's I just remember of a picture that if you have the pain and it frequently comes back to your life, then maybe this pain wants to show you something.
Yeah, it's intelligent pain. All the pains in the body or in the psyche, it's intelligent information from spirit telling you where to look. And of course you can shoot the messenger. That means take a pill or cut away the pain somehow, run into addictions. I've been there myself, and you know, most of us have in some kind of way. And then we just killing the messenger by pushing away the pain instead of going into the pain and asking, what are you trying to show me?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's again a topic that is really important, that people used to solve things with pills and in hospitals to get rid of a cancer or whatever, and we forget that basically our body shows something that in this society, let's say, where we live, we think that basically, yeah, it's a sickness, we have to get rid of it. Yeah, but I will add this into the next podcast. I hope I can remember, because it's a very important one to know.
It's a big topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoyed this, and come back and see the next Power Awakening podcast and see how to get more conscious, how to get into balance, and basically how to live a happy life.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a joy for me to be here and talk with you, and I'm sure we could have sit here for a few hours more.
Yeah.
So we have to do it another time, but thank you again.
Tusen tack for coming.
Thank you.
See you later.